It's 2036 and a man named Marius Fisher, aka the Baron, has been ruling the town of Castor Woods in the western Alps of Europe ever since the global zombie apocalypse began in 2024. His ultimate goal is to create an evolved, sentient race of human volatiles whom he can control to become the king of humanity. And to achieve this goal, he is conducting all sorts of twisted and evil experiments in his castle. And one of his main test subjects is Kyle Crane, who is our protagonist from Dying Light 1. Crane is currently a hybrid sentient human volatile who has been tortured and experimented upon by the Baron for the last 13 years, so that the Baron can get data on how to create the controllable zombies. And one day, while another human test subject was being brought to the lab, the usual procedure goes wrong, and it wreaks havoc on the lab. Also, Crane gets a chance to escape, and picks up a radio nearby, and a woman named Olivia helps Crane escape for some reason but won't reveal her intention just yet. And with her guidance on the radio, he starts making his way out of the lab while killing a lot of zombies, of course. And while the zombies are about to surround him, Crane suddenly experiences a dramatic shift in his vision and becomes way more powerful and easily takes out the zombies. And with a bit more struggle, he successfully escapes from the lab and finally sees sunlight after 13 long years of captivity. He then calls Olivia again and she instructs him to go to a monastery downhill from there. So he goes to the monastery, clears the zombies inside the place, turns the power back on, and finally meets Olivia in person. And in his furious state of mind, he immediately starts interrogating Olivia about what she wants from Crane. And she tells him that she wants him to help her get the hell out of Castor Woods, because she is tired of doing forced labor under captivity for the Baron. But Crane, after facing so many years of torture, has fixated his mind on getting revenge by killing the Baron, and he will only help Olivia after the Baron is dead. So Olivia, to accomplish her end goal, decides to help Crane get his revenge, and as she used to work in the Baron's labs, she informs Crane from her knowledge that he can get stronger by injecting himself with the blood of the monstrous zombies the Baron created known as the Chimeras, which is also essential to get him out of his current weak state, and that he needs to gather allies and form a coalition if he is going to kill the Baron. And right in the middle of their conversation, a Chimera arrives at the monastery, and Crane, with his newfound abilities, takes out the Chimera. But as the superhuman form named Beast Mode takes too much of his energy, he goes unconscious after it, and Olivia injects him with the Chimera's blood, and he gains back his conscience after a few days. And after Crane apologizes for a bit and acknowledges that he now feels stronger after the use of GSB, she explains to him how every Chimera will boost his abilities in different ways, and for now their plan is, while Crane focuses on gathering allies, she will track down the locations of more Chimeras, and she instructs him to take 2 blood samples from every Chimera, one for Crane to inject himself with, and another for her research so she can find the Baron's goal behind creating them. Later, while Crane is wandering around in Old Town, he receives an SOS from the town hall, which is currently being infiltrated by zombies. Answering the SOS, Crane arrives at the town hall, kills the zombies and another Chimera, and then he extracts its blood and injects himself with it, after which he struggles for a while, but ultimately he is fine this time, and meets with the survivors living there and their second-in-command, Jacob, who explains to him that they were attacked by a beast who broke through their defenses and that their electricity has gone down, as well as their UV lights, and begs Crane to help their leader, the sheriff, on the roof, who is trying to turn the power back on. Crane agrees and climbs to the town hall's roof, and meets the sheriff, who doesn't trust him, but accepts his help, and the both of them turn the power back on together. A while later, while the survivors are having a meeting, a survivor reveals that he has been bitten, and sacrifices himself, which is the culture the sheriff has brought upon them. After that, Jacob gives Crane the task of killing the beast, because they're worried that the beast might come back. And in order to make an alliance with these people, Crane accepts this task. It goes after the beast in the deadly nighttime, and in the middle of the chase, an explosion happens on the streets below, and after reaching the explosion site, Crane learns that the Baron is also hunting the beast for some reason, and that the beast is way smarter than the other zombies, and after a bit more searching, Crane tracks down the beast in a tunnel, but ultimately he fails to kill it, and it throws him like he's some little toy. And after doing a run for his life from the volatiles in the tunnel, Crane makes it out of the tunnel and calls Olivia and tells her about what happened. Olivia tells him to come back to the monastery, and after he does, she does some more tests on him, which Crane looks at very suspiciously, and thinks he'll become a zombie if he keeps injecting himself with the blood of the Chimeras. But as he is feeling insecurity to lose his only ally, he doesn't press her into answering. and she gives Crane the location of another chimera in the middle of a swamp. He kills it, and after injecting himself with its blood, Crane has turned much more tolerant to the after effect. After coming back to the town hall, the chief supplier here named Doug requests Crane for his help to find his missing scouts, and after some investigating, Crane finds out that they are being harassed by bandits who are killing the town hall scouts and are also setting up traps for them. And then one day Crane tracks one of them down and interrogates him, and learns about their hiding spot in the library. And he also learns that the people from the town hall did some wrong to these bandits, which we ultimately never learn about because Doug refuses to tell us. But Crane does manage to end this threat by storming their hiding spot in the library. Later, the sheriff calls Crane to a room and tells him that their main power plant went down a month ago, and that she already sent 2 squads to fix it, but none of the squads ever returned, and now she wants Crane to handle it. So Crane goes to the power plant in Beaver Creek and finds a guy named Largo who was sent here by the sheriff, who is also a useless piece of shit who provides next to no help on fixing the plant. And after some struggle, Crane is successfully able to turn the power back on. But there's a problem. It turns out Largo has betrayed the town hall and has started to work for the Baron, whose orders were to make sure this facility isn't used to power the town hall, so they get overrun by zombies at night. Because he is seeing the town hall's growing influence in the Old Town region as a threat, and his orders were complied by Largo very well, because he systematically killed the last 2 squads that came here. And as he couldn't stop Crane, he called the Baron's soldiers to stop him, those who arrived soon after the call and immediately captured Crane. But Crane being Crane, goes into beast mode and kills all the soldiers right in the spot, which serves as the first act of aggression done by Crane towards the Baron's rule of Castor Woods. And after that's done, he contacts the sheriff and informs her about the skirmish he had with the Baron's men. And the sheriff's voice starts sounding nervous, and she tells him to come back to the town hall immediately. And upon arriving there, the sheriff says that they cannot make an enemy out of the Baron because he has an army, and under no circumstances can they defeat them. But Crane debates that the Baron is already after them, and that they can defeat him if they take their time, gather intel on him, and rally all the survivors in Castor Woods against the Baron, on which both the sheriff and Jacob agree. And Crane spends some time helping the town hall by turning on more power grids and attempting to help a scientist who wants to build a speaker to scare away the zombies, which ultimately ends in disaster. Then Olivia calls Crane again and informs him of another chimera near the memorial hall, but after arriving he is unable to find the chimera, but does manage to find some new technology used by the Baron. And after some more searching, he goes to the chemical lab a few clicks south from there, which is heavily guarded by the Baron's men. And after fighting with many of the guards, he comes into confrontation with one of the Baron's scientists, from whom he learns that he can lure chimeras by using a special red gas and one of the Baron's devices he saw near the memorial hall. And after hearing that, he knocks the scientist out, takes a gas canister, and installs it on the device. And a few moments later, the chimera comes, which he takes out without much problem, and injects himself with its blood. He then returns to Olivia and gives her the other sample of the blood. And Olivia says to him that the blood she has been researching has duplicate fragments of Crane's DNA, which basically means that the Baron is mass-producing these chimeras using Crane's genetic code, and to learn more she needs more blood. But Crane insists that he is done injecting himself with that stuff and is hoping to kill the Baron soon with the help of the people from the town hall, since their interest has now met his, and leaves. Later, the sheriff calls Crane and informs him about the Baron's activity near an old salt mine. She suspects something big is going to happen there and tells Crane to meet her over there. And soon, Crane goes to the salt mine and meets with the sheriff, who informs him that the Baron is also present here to probably hunt a chimera, and Crane, in his furious state of mind, tries to seize the opportunity to kill the Baron and starts killing the soldiers, then enters the mine, and after some more fighting and going deep into the cave, he calls the sheriff to let her know that he cannot find the Baron. But alas, it turns out that the sheriff has betrayed Crane and has led him into a trap. And after the soldiers pin him down, the Baron comes out of the shadows and starts talking to Crane about how he admires his fortitude not to give up. Crane asks him why he has been used as a lab rat for the last 13 years, and in reply he gives Crane a hint of his desire to rule humanity, and that Crane was a little pawn in his grand plan whom he doesn't need anymore because he has found a new and better human volatile than Crane, whom he thinks is the future. and Crane, seizing an opportunity, slips away and releases the Baron's new test subject, and as the Baron needs it alive, he lets it escape, but leaves Crane to die. But luckily Crane finds his way out through a volatile nest, and immediately calls the sheriff and lets her know that he is coming for her and drives to the town hall. But by the time he is there, the sheriff has already escaped with her stuff, and Jacob claims that he knew nothing about her betrayal, so Crane explicitly warns Jacob that she is going to pay for what she has done, and as Crane is a one-man army who can kill everyone here in the town hall by himself, he puts Jacob in charge and makes it very clear that Jacob now answers to Crane, and tells him that he has to help Crane every way he can to take out the Baron. And Jacob gives Crane information about a group of exiles who live high in the mountains that managed to escape from the Baron's lab, who were forced out of the town hall by the sheriff, and that they are also infected but don't turn into zombies similar to Crane, who can help them in taking out the Baron, and that he will let Crane know where to meet them after he contacts them. And by that, the town hall and the areas controlled by it have openly risen up in rebellion against the Baron's rule. Sometime later, while Crane is driving around the valley, one of the exiles, named Sven, contacts Crane with a technique called telepathy, which forms a direct connection in their minds and lets them communicate from far distances, and gives him the location of where they can meet, and upon arriving he meets with the exile, and asks him information about the Baron. But Sven tells him that Crane needs to help him find two of his missing team members who might have been captured by the Baron if he wants the information. So Crane tracks down the two exiles in captivity of the Baron in a pig farm, and after some fighting he rescues the two and takes them to the exiles' hideout in the mountains of the northeast of Castor Woods. And their leader Lydia is furious at Sven for bringing Kyle Crane into the cave, in fear of getting their hiding spot compromised because Crane is a high priority target of the Baron, and she requests him to leave. But Sven assures Crane that Lydia will come around, and he introduces Crane to Selby, who is the technology expert here, and she briefs Crane that they have found out a way to listen into the Baron's comms, but they need to climb the tallest tower in the valley and install a radio there to do so. And she asks Crane to do it, because by giving them this help, he can gain Lydia's approval. So after a lot of struggle and climbing 3 radio towers, Crane successfully taps into the Baron's communications, and as soon as it is done, bad news arrives. Sven warns Crane that the Baron's soldiers are planting bombs in the town hall right this moment to blow it up in retaliation of their rebellion. So Crane immediately warns Jacob about the bombs and rushes to the ground level of the town hall, and after a lot of fighting and struggle, he is successfully able to stop them and disable all the bombs just in time to save the town hall from blowing up. Later inside the cave, Starchild says to Crane that he wants to study Crane's outbursts to help the other exiles manage their depression, for which he needs samples from a crazy tree that attracts zombies. And after getting the sample, he gives Crane a dose of his new antidepressant drug. And after taking it, Crane goes into a dream and confronts his biggest nightmares, where he blames himself for all the people that died under his watch on Haran, and glimpses of Jade, a woman he once loved and still carries her bracelet to honor her memory. And after that, he fights with the versions of himself and the demons, which he wins. And after he wakes up, Starchild and Crane have a conversation about how this experiment will help others in the cave, while also discussing some of their past life experiences. And Starchild also reveals that his real name is Benjamin. Soon after, Sven and Lydia contact Crane and inform him that some of the Baron's scientists are conducting experiments in the Emil Brick School and have been attacked by bandits, and Lydia wants Crane to go there and steal all the research he can. So Crane goes to the Emil Brick School and meets with their scout Ray. Ray stays behind to find the getaway vehicle while Crane goes inside to steal the research, and while collecting the documents, he also finds one of the Baron's scientists named Camilo, whom he takes into captivity, and tells Ray to take Camilo back to the cave, and he goes back inside to grab the rest of the research. And after that's done, the Baron's soldiers arrive to retake the school from the bandits, and in the midst of their firefight, Crane runs out of the building, kills 2 soldiers, and steals one of their vehicles and returns to the cave. And upon arriving, he learns that Ray hasn't come back with the scientist. So he rushes out of the cave to save Camilo and Ray before nightfall. And even though he fails to save Ray, he does manage to rescue Camilo. and it turns out that Lydia knows Camilo personally, because he was the only scientist in the Baron's lab who showed them mercy during the procedures. She also thanks Crane for his help and gives him her personal revolver as a token of gratitude, and after they leave, Crane calls Olivia and tells her about the scientist situation, and that he has found a data drive which can help her in her research. Later, Selby informs Crane that the Baron's men are moving chemicals in Camping Park, and she thinks that he should investigate the matter. So Crane goes there, kills a lot of zombies and turns off the gas. And inside the house he finds a female doctor of the Baron who claims that the Baron has been using her under forced labor. And she begs Crane to help her by bringing her supplies to get out of Castor Woods. So Crane goes to gather the supplies and calls Selby to inform her of the situation. But Selby becomes very suspicious after hearing her description. And before Crane comes back with the supplies, Selby arrives at the place and confirms that this lady used to torture her severely when she used to conduct experiments on her. So to let Selby have her revenge, Crane leaves them alone. After that's done, Starchild from the cave informs Crane that there's something in the rail yard east of there that is blocking their telepathy and asks Crane to check it out. And after some investigating, Crane finds out that this is the doing of a former exile named Rick, who has turned into a monstrous abomination of both zombie and human form, in an attempt to control the zombies that ended in a disaster. And after seeing his pain, Crane mercy kills Rick and blows up the place so that no one can attempt anything like this ever again in the future. Later, after killing another chimera, he returns to Olivia in the monastery and they talk about the red gas the Baron has made to lure chimeras and regular zombies, where she tells him that the main scientist behind this gas was Olivia's father, and that he has also been working for the Baron under forced labor, and she hopes to rescue her father too if they can defeat the Baron. After that, Crane returns to the cave, and Camilo and Lydia tell Crane that Camilo has found out a way in which Lydia can control the zombies by using her mind, and that they could create an army of zombies to take out the Baron. But first, they need a substance from a volatile nest, which is the most risky job Crane is being asked to do in the entire Dying Light franchise. But to get his revenge against the Baron, Crane agrees to go to the nest, and goes to the mountain cave where he finds the volatile nest, which is fully painted with blood and looks like a place of death. But Crane sneaks around the volatiles and successfully gets the samples, but alas, the volatiles notice him when he is just about to leave, and start chasing him, but luckily Crane can get out of there just in time after a deadly chase. Then he returns to the cave and gives the samples to Lydia. Later, Olivia informs Crane of another chimera near the wastewater treatment plant, and that she is personally coming down there because she has found more important new information. And after a while, Crane arrives at the plant and meets Olivia, and she tells him that her father was the one who brought Crane to the Baron, and that the Baron saw an opportunity after seeing a human volatile like Crane to make powerful zombies like him that he could control. And Olivia's father was the one who was put in charge of that project. And that is the reason why Crane was getting experimented on for the last 13 years in his labs. And after hearing that, Crane's desire to get revenge gets even more longing, and he goes outside the car and kills the nearby chimera and injects himself with its blood. And this time, the dose hits him like almost nothing happened. And by now, Crane is the toughest human being on Earth. And after that's done, he calls Olivia and lets her know that he will now go to take the Baron down. And a few moments later, Lydia contacts Crane and informs him that they are ready to test controlling the zombies, and tells him to come meet them near the St. Valentine Mental Asylum. And upon arriving there, Crane learns that they have conducted the first experiment successfully, and Camilo shows Crane the mental asylum that still hasn't been loaded yet, and tells him that Lydia needs a final drug to reach her full potential of controlling the zombies. So Crane goes into the mental asylum and none of the zombies are attacking Crane, which proves that Camilo's theory is working. And after some searching, Crane finally finds the drug, but alas, Lydia loses control of the zombies right after that, and Crane has to get out of the place by running for his life, which she accomplishes by finding a safe spot at the dark of the night. And in the morning, Crane goes to their hiding spot near the town hall and delivers the drug. But right in that moment, Crane receives word that the town hall is being attacked by the Baron's soldiers. So Crane rushes to the town hall, and in his way, the sheriff contacts Crane and apologizes to him for betraying him in the past, and that she wants to help in saving her people, which Crane refuses, but she decides to help him anyway by giving Crane information in the fight. And upon arriving at the town hall, Crane sees that the soldiers are using the red gas to bring the zombies to the town hall, and after some heavy fighting with the Baron's soldiers, the soldiers start dropping mortar fire on the town hall from 3 different operations. But luckily, with Crane's superpowers, he's successfully able to take out the 3 mortars and all the Baron's men that were part of the attack. And after going back to the town hall area, he shuts down the gases. But alas, the Baron now sends in a chimera, and by the time he takes it out, 2 more show up, and Crane starts to fight them with all he's got. But luckily, Lydia arrives right on time and starts controlling the chimeras and gets them away from there. Then the sheriff shows up and the 2 of them get into a heated argument about what she did to Crane, and she tells them that the Baron gave her 2 choices. It was either Crane that had to go or her people, and she chose to save her people. And in that moment, Lydia arrives with Savannah and Camilo, and Kyle thanks Lydia for saving his life. And Lydia also confronts the sheriff about how she had left them for the dead in the past. But ultimately, Lydia and Crane forgive the sheriff, and they decide to bring an end to the Baron's rule of Castor Woods together. And they make a plan to catch the beast by using telepathy to track it down and drive around with the red gas to lure it into a trap. And they are hoping that catching the beast will hopefully lure the Baron to them, and they will be able to kill him in an ambush. And we also learn the sheriff's name, which is Florence. Later, Crane starts searching for the gas canisters in the industrial area, and after killing a volatile, he finds the 2 gas canisters, and according to plan, they drive around the forest with the leaking gas, which works, and they successfully trap the beast into a cave, and Crane has a mad showdown with the beast in which he successfully makes it unconscious, and Lydia does her attempt to take it under her control. Then Camilo reveals a shocking revelation that the beast can be cured and can be returned to its human form if they inject the beast with Crane's blood plasma. So they inject it with Crane's blood, and after doing that, they take back the beast back to their cave. And after a while, the beast wakes up back at his human form, and we learn that this is none other than Aiden, the protagonist of Dying Light 2, whom the Baron captured to conduct experiments on. And the last thing he remembers is that he and Spike were trying to rescue Crane from the Baron before they got caught. And Spike is an old friend of Crane who was in charge of security of the tower after Huron's fall to the zombie apocalypse, and that he became a pilgrim for the sole reason to find his friend Kyle Crane. Aiden also tells them that the GRE has fallen. And in the middle of their conversation, the Baron calls and lets Crane know that he has captured both Olivia and Spike, and demands that the beast be returned to him immediately. Otherwise, both of them will die. And after the call, Aiden insists that he give himself up to save Spike. But Crane and the others convince him that the Baron cannot be trusted, and that tomorrow they will do their final push to the Baron's castle to kill him and bring an end to his rule. So Crane and Aiden rest while the sheriff and Lydia craft a plan to infiltrate the Baron's castle. But by the morning, Aiden has already gone back to the Baron to turn himself in to save Spike, which was a pointless move because a few moments later the Baron calls again and says to Crane that if Crane doesn't turn himself in as well, both Olivia and Spike will die anyway. So the remaining exiles and the sheriff make their final action plan to take out the Baron. First, Crane will infiltrate the castle via one of the exit tunnels, and then he will take out the guards near the gate and open the gate for the rest of the small coalition army to move in. Also, Lydia will fill the place with zombies with her newfound abilities after the gates are opened. And after nightfall, they move into their position near the Baron's castle, and Crane goes inside the tunnels, and after blowing up a lot of walls with explosives, he successfully infiltrates the castle, kills the guards, and opens the gate, and the coalition army starts their assault on the Baron's castle. And after our main characters watch the show for a while and see the death of some unimportant characters, Crane finally starts shooting while Lydia brings in the zombies to the castle. And after doing some fighting in the courtyard, the Baron unleashes its chimeras, and while the sheriff and Lydia fight and take control of the chimeras, Crane moves inside the castle to kill the Baron. And immediately upon entering the castle, the Baron's soldiers come at Crane with full force, but Crane being Crane, takes them out. And after 20 more minutes of fighting zombies, chimeras, and the Baron's men, Crane finds Aiden held up in a cell. And when he is trying to rescue him comes the most obvious betrayal ever. Olivia comes out of nowhere and reveals that she has been working for the Baron all along, and traps Crane inside, betraying him and making him go unconscious with a gas. And when Crane wakes up, he finds himself and all his allies tied down on chairs, including Spike. And soon enough, the Baron comes into the room with Olivia and starts giving his final villain monologue about how Crane is still a little pawn in his grand plan, and how he intentionally released Crane into the wild to conduct the final experiments that needed to be done on him. and that Olivia was just another tool he used to manipulate Crane, so he injects himself with all that Chimera's blood without realizing anything. And with the research Olivia sent him, he has now created the most powerful chimeras anybody has ever seen, which he can also control. And now with Crane and Aiden in his captivity, he has human DNA that can resist almost any infection. And after his speech, he brings in a knife and kills off Spike and Camilo because he doesn't need them anymore for his grand plan of becoming the king of the world. And when he's about to kill Lydia, Olivia starts to beg him not to kill her, but the Baron explains to her that this is the only way to deal with traitors and enemies, and orders Olivia to shoot Crane to prove her loyalty. But Olivia tries to shoot the Baron instead, which fails, and the two get into a fight. But with the help of Lydia's mind control abilities, Olivia stabs the Baron, and then removes the chain from Lydia, Aiden, and Crane. And she apologizes to Crane for manipulating him, but Crane is grateful to her that she chose the right side in the end. Then both Crane and Aiden go out to deal with the Baron and put him out of his misery. And after a huge firefight with the Baron and his final guards, they're able to pin him down. But right before they finish him, the Baron pulls his last resort. He brings out an injection and says that this is the culmination of all his works. He has created a drug that will turn him into a volatile, but he will still have his human consciousness. And after his speech, he injects the drug into himself, which transforms him into a conscious chimera. But as Crane is now the toughest human walking on Earth, he is successfully able to take him down and kill him with a wave, finally ending the chapter of Marius Fisher and his rule over Castor Woods. But right after killing him, the GRE shows up on a helicopter and tell Crane that they had to go underground to survive, but are still an active entity, and that the Baron was one of their own until he broke away from the GRE's control, and that Crane has done them a big favor again by taking him out. And while the helicopter is leaving, Crane reveals his intention to destroy the GRE, with Lydia and Aiden by his side, and the game ends. If you'd like to see more video game war stories explained through maps, consider subscribing my channel. In the meantime, check out my Far Cry 3 video. Peace be upon you.